Let's start by setting the objective for our accessibility project. Our objective is extremely important because it's going to shape everything we do. So, your objective might be compliance with a law, regulation, or directive. It might be meeting the mandatory settlement terms following a lawsuit. It might be compliance with your own internal accessibility policy. It might also include full WCAG conformance and or conformance with another technical standard. It might be having documentation, so having an accessibility conformance report or an ACR. You might know this as a VPAT, but having this documentation that we can provide to buyers. Now, following the objective, it's important to set out success metrics because these are going to be specific, quantifiable ways that we can measure and track the success of our accessibility project. So, here I have a few examples: 95% of audit issues validated as fixed, full WCAG 2.1 AA conformance for 10 defined pages, having no issues with high or medium user impact score. This gets at a prioritization formula inside of the accessibility tracker platform. We'll talk more about that later, but for now, just know that here we're setting out a metric as taking care of the most pressing accessibility issues. And then the last bullet point is having an accessibility conformance report with three or less criteria marked does not support or partially supports. So here we're looking beyond just the broad, all encompassing objective to have very specific ways that we can measure and track success. So this is very important. And as you are setting metrics, make them attainable. So make them substantial, but also don't take an all or nothing full conformance approach, because then you may not end up reaching full conformance for a practical or technical reason. So it's important that we have substantial metrics that do require real action and real progress, but we also make sure that our metrics are attainable. So some examples of what may not be attainable: full WCAG 2.1 AA conformance for our entire digital asset in 5 months. I can tell you from experience working with clients, this is very ambitious and may not actually happen. So we want to be somewhat conservative with the metrics that we set out so that we set ourselves up for success. Another example here is full WCAG 2.1 AAA conformance. AAA conformance can be extremely difficult to reach. So again, you wouldn't want to start here, but what you can do is you can set up a two-layer approach where you start off with a very nice success metric. So something like the 95% of audit issues we need to make sure that we get through. And then you have secondarily full WCAG conformance, because the audit really is going to identify all accessibility issues where you are short of full conformance. So first we start off with 95%, and then we get all the way aggressive and we try to reach full conformance. Next, set a deadline. So you need to set a specific deadline for each project. And when I say each project, a project is going to represent a digital asset. So don't group all of your digital assets together, separate them out, give yourself enough time to reach each deadline, and don't set the deadline too far in the future. So for most single projects, 3 to 8 months for completion is a good amount of time. You don't want to go too far in the future, because then what's going to happen is the work is going to expand to fill the time. We want to avoid that. We want to make sure that we are moving at a brisk pace and that we are prioritizing this project. So make sure that we have a deadline. Make sure that the deadline is gives us enough time to complete this project, but also doesn't give us too short of a window. And then also make sure that any redesigns, edits that you know that are coming, any major changes, they're in place before we start our accessibility project, because we don't want to start and complete all of this work and then have to start over at the very end. All right, so now let's talk about a few resources. With accessible.org, you can get audit and support services for your project. There's also a cost calculator to help you with budgeting. Also, Accessibility Tracker is a platform that tracks all accessibility issues, not just those flagged by a scan. It also has AI to help your team with fixes. And in the description for this lesson, I will include the playlist for this entire training, as well as any updates and additional resources to help you with your accessibility project. So we will continue on with the next lesson.